Join us as we delve into the Scotichronicon and the historical accounts of Manetho to discover who Princess Scota actually was. A princess said to have been of Egyptian origin, who in duress traveled from Egypt towards Ireland. Would the Egyptians have known of such a place during the time of the 18th dynasty of Egypt? Deciphering ancient names. We shall take a look of a list that aims to demonstrate the challenges that arise when trying to reconcile the known archaeology of the region with the historical accounts of Manetho. The main issue lies in the fact that many of the names do not appear to match. However, some of the names are clear equivalents, such as Tuthmoses being Tuthmoses IV, and the two Amenophis kings being Amenhotep I and III, with only minor variations in their reign lengths. While some of the other pharaonic names are less obvious, many of them can be reconstructed from Manetho's distorted Greek translations by using a little bit of common sense. Pharaoh Ahmoses is believed to be the same as Ahmose I. However, the name Tuthmoses, which is an alternative name for the same pharaohs, is thought to have originated from a scribe misreading the moon glyph of the god Thoth. As a result, Ahmoses became Tuthmoses or Tuthmoses. The length of Ahmoses' reign recorded in Manetho's record matches well with the modern king list, but this may be because Egyptologists often rely on Manetho's work where there are no other sources available. Amensis is believed to be Hatshepsut, the sister of Amenhotep I, according to Manetho. Some modern Egyptologists dispute this family connection, but it's possible that Tuthmoses I's absence from Manetho's list causes confusion. The name Amensis or Amersis for Hatshepsut could come from the prominent glyphs for Amen in her cartouche and the difficulty of reading her birth name. It is interesting to note that Tuthmoses II was translated as Chebron in Greek. This translation is not easy to uncover, as it requires a deep understanding of the 18th century and a creative mind. However, the king's prenomen, which is Akhenaton, provides the truth behind this strange translation. Although Akhenaton and Chebron may not sound alike, the Keper component of the former name is actually derived from the glyph of a fat dung beetle. This glyph is known as Carib in the Aramaic language, Karabos in Greek, Scarabaeus in Latin, and Scarab in English. From ancient Egypt to ecclesiastical symbolism, the word Keper in ancient Egyptian language was pronounced with a P sound. Over time, it evolved and was pronounced with a B sound in words such as Keber or Karabos. The Greek word for this same word is cherubim, which was derived from a softer CH sound replacing the harder K. This resulted in the English word cherub. Interestingly, the chubby-winged angelic beings in ecclesiastical artwork that we commonly associate with cherubim are actually dung beetles with wings. This is because the Keper dung beetle was identified with the constellation of Cancer, the crab, and was closely associated with the sun god. This humble beetle became one of the zodiacal constellations that the sun god traversed during the great month of Cancer. The word crab might have an ancient origin. The dung beetle, Keper, became Carib in Aramaic and Greek, which then transformed into crub or crab. It's fascinating how symbols can change and mutate over the centuries as they are adopted by different cultures. Upon examining the prenomen cartouche for Tuthmoses II, it is clear that the original translation for his name was Akhenaton or Akhenaton, with Keper referring to the dung beetle. However, upon further analysis, if we remove the AA and RE glyphs, we will be left with Keper-N. And if we translate this shortened name into Aramaic or Greek, we derive Karub-N, Cherub-N, Cherub-N, and Chebron. This indicates that Manetho's pharaohs, Chebron, was actually Pharaoh Akhenaton Tuthmoses II. It is important to note that Manetho is often right more than wrong, and frequently used Greco-Aramaic translations of these royal names, a detail that has been denied by academia but is undeniably true. This new translation sheds light on the matter and gives us two additional details to ponder. Pharaoh Horus, as listed in Manetho's king list, is believed to be Horemheb, as both names are derived from the god Horus. However, Horemheb's placement in Manetho's list is not accurate, due to the Amarna regime being removed from most Egyptian records. Manetho had to decide where to place the dynasty that was missing from all other records, and he chose to place it after Horemheb. However, historical evidence shows that the Amarna era came before Horemheb, deciphering the mysteries of the Amarna dynasty and the Exodus. The Amarna dynasty is often a subject of confusion because its members inherited generic names such as Cheres, Achencheres, or Achencheres. The accounts of Manetho, which were derived from multiple transmission routes for his original king list, proposed two possible locations or eras for Moses and the Exodus, either at the beginning of the 18th dynasty during the reign of Tuthmoses, a Moses, or during the Amarna era at the time of Achencheres or Rathotis. It is worth noting that there were two exodus out of Egypt involving the Judaic peoples, the Great Hyksos Exodus during Ahmose I's reign, and the smaller Amarna exodus of Akhenaton and Nefertiti, or Akhenaton and Kia, at the end of the Amarna era. Although the translators of Manetho are puzzled by this apparent duplication of the Exodus, the different accounts are both accurate. However, our current discussion revolves around Pharaoh Chenkris, the king who Fordham and Bauer indicates was the father of Princess Scota. The pharaoh of the Exodus during the Amarna era was either Achencheres or Rathotis. This pharaoh came after a female pharaoh, who was most likely Nefertiti, closely related to Akhenaton. According to Manetho, the two pharaohs were brother and sister, which might be correct based on the known traditions performed by the royals, such as brothers and sisters being wed. Comparing Pharaoh Rathotis-Achencheres and Pharaoh Akhenaton, Pharaoh Rathotis-Achencheres is being compared to Pharaoh Akhenaton for two reasons. First, let's compare the names. The first syllable in both names is Achen in the historical texts and Achen in the records of Manetho. Achen is derived from the Ibis glyph and can be pronounced as Ak. The Greek version of Achen used either a hard K or a soft KH. Ch. The next syllable in the names are two versions of a title for the sun god, with one using the god name Aten and the other using the Hebrew Cheres, meaning sun. Some Egyptologists have challenged the interpretation of Cheres, indicating that the Hebrew for sun is actually Chemesh. The mountain known as Mount Heres in the Bible is also referred to as the mountain of the sun. Therefore, Heres is a reference to the sun. Some people have challenged this interpretation, arguing that the Egypto-Greek world of Manetho would not have been influenced by an Aramaic word like Cheres. However, it has been shown that much of the Aramaic language was derived from Egyptian. Additionally, Manetho uses the term Cheres in many pharaonic names that include a reference to the sun god, such as Aten, Amun, or Ra. An example of this alternative Aramaic name for the sun god can be found in the titles for Pharaoh Neferkari Amenemnesu, who reigned for 4 years during the 21st dynasty. Manetho calls this pharaoh Nefershares and again assigns him a 4-year reign. It's interesting to note that the name Nefershares actually refers to the pharaoh Akhenaton, despite what academia has claimed. This is because the term Cheres was used by Manetho to refer to the sun god, which during the Amarna era would have been the Aten, not Amen or Ra. Therefore, Manetho's pharaoh called Achencheres was actually Akhenaton, and Bauer's pharaoh called Chenkris is the name as Achencheres. This means that Princess Scota's father was most likely Pharaoh Akhenaton. Also, the same pharaoh was referred to as Rathotis in some king lists derived from Manetho. But why is that? It turns out that the Ibis glyph in Akhenaton's name can also be pronounced as Thoth in Greek. Thoth is another name for Jehud. The name Thotis and Rathotis is simply the god named Thoth. The Ra in Rathotis is the sun god. Therefore, Achencheres and Thoth-Ra are equivalent names. If we reverse the syllables in Thoth-Ra, we get Ra-Thoth, which is Manetho's Rathotis. Has it been made clear that Pharaoh Achencheres Rathotis, father of Princess Scota, was Pharaoh Akhenaton? Does this information help us narrow down the era of the Scota Exodus and provides insight into her life and disappearance from Egypt? Akhenaton was the only pharaoh from the Amarna era to have children during his reign, making him the only possible father of Princess Scota. Despite the level of truth in the Scotichronicon story, the pharaoh it speaks of is undoubtedly an actual historical figure, Pharaoh Akhenaton. We're interested in knowing what you think, so drop a comment, like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time.